Hello, everyone. Hi, welcome.
I think.
No, it's on.
Yeah.
All
Oh,
good.
sorry.
It's a bit weird, this whole silent disco scenario, but lovely to see you all here. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Annabelle Hutter. I'm actually from Säntis Textiles, specializing in recycled cotton, but it's always super interesting for me to be learning about new things, and one of these things is obviously a hot topic, and that is organic cotton. So I would love to just introduce my panelists today. We have Sophie from Soil Association, Murat from Kipas, and we have Prakash from Cocoon. So these are really lovely people, and I'm hoping that everyone takes something great away today. So let's start with some brief introductions. Sophie, why don't you start? What you do, where you come from?
Yeah. So my name's Sophie Robinson. I'm Business Development Manager for Beauty, Wellbeing and Textiles at Soil Association Certification. So the Soil Association was founded in 1946 by a group of farmers who were concerned about the agricultural practices that were being put into place after the Second World War. And we are concerned with making sure that agriculture is done thoughtfully and with the environment in mind. We were a founding partner of GOTZ, which is an organic textile standard as well.
Murat, how about you?
So this is Murat Arioz. I am the UK Sales Director of Kipas Textiles. So we are based in Turkey, and we are one of the largest mill out of Europe. So yeah, I'm here
Nice to
to give
see
some
you as
information
always.
about it.
Yeah. And Prakash?
Hi, my full name is Chandra Prakash, but friends call me Prakash. And I'm a fashion designer by qualification, but since 12 years, I'm also a silk farmer. I started my regenerative agriculture in 2010. I did a lot of experiment about how to have same yield without using chemical, and it's really successful. And now I have a new startup called Fashion for Biodiversity. So IT based, so busy.
Super. No, I'm really happy to have such a diverse panel. And yeah, let's get started. So I think one of the first things that I always think about when I'm reading or thinking about organic cotton, especially now in the last few years, is what does it mean with organic cotton? What is organic cotton? And also nowadays, I'm always thinking, what is the difference between regenerative cotton and organic cotton? And the discussion around it is so vast, and there's so much conversation and dialogue happening in the market and industry about these two cottons specifically. So I guess maybe some people are nodding, maybe they're in agreement with me, but I would love to know from your point of view what the difference is between organic and regenerative cotton is, and honestly, what is organic cotton?
Sure. So for me, organic is a standard which has regenerative practices built into it by law, and that's the only standard in the world that actually has that built in. So for me, organic is a starting point for regenerative farming, because you can start with a very clear framework that you can be certified to, and then continue on from that to create a truly regenerative practice.
Okay. What do you guys think? Is it the same or?
Yeah, I mean, there is already a standard for the organic cotton. So, and also, like while a farm goes to organic cotton, there's a transition period, like 3 years already. And in regenerative cotton, actually, by like doing some development in the farm, you can actually with some standards, not like they are trying to create with the control union some standards, and there they convert the farms into regenerative cotton. And we do also some partnership. We support as a company with some farms, and then like both sides actually we are supporting. Yeah.
Great. And Prakash?
What wonderful people here said, baseline is always the same. They have same baseline.
Yeah.
In regenerative, the difference between organic and regenerative is that you also talk about what kind of rotational crop you're going to have
Yeah.
after cotton, and you talk also about parallel crop. So in between cotton, you can have something else, like which could also give kind of food security to farmers. Like for example, we use sometime rice. Recently, we also experimented cotton with potato. We did recently with one Italian brand. We had cotton, and between we had marigold.
Yeah.
The farmers could sell these flowers to Indian temples, and
That's
so
beautiful.
that's the thing. I mean, we talk about that in organic. Your focus always is on the main crop. So that's my understanding. That's the difference.
Yeah, everyone has their own take on it, but it's really important to establish, you know,
And
these
also-
differences and the definition, I think. But yeah, what do you?
Yeah, kind of like you know, carbon-free production, and also, you know, reducing the water consumption and energy. Like besides conventional cotton, actually it's also like needed, and then like together with the organic, it's supposed to go outside. And
But do you think that organic, because, you know, I'm just going to dive into the nitty gritty. I already, you know, warned you before. But do you actually think that organic cotton is using water reduction processes? Like, do you think it is actually using less water? Do you think that this data is accurate? Do you think that it's just...
No,
This is-
I believe that organic cotton, you know, there has been data to show that it does use less water, and it's generally not just in the growing stage, but also in the processing stages as well.
Okay.
Because GOTZ standard, for example, closely regulates things that aren't just, you know, how a product is processed. You also have, you know, water usage and a certain amount of social responsibilities as well with it.
Yeah. Great. No, I mean...
like organic certificate is like covering a wider range, probably comparing to the regenerative cotton. And in regenerative cotton, for example, like covering the soil kind of processes helps like reducing the carbon footprint, kind of, or keeping the root inside the living root inside the soil,
Yeah.
kind of
No-till,
processes.
So just to like,
As you dive in more
yeah,
process,
it starts to get very technical. But okay, then on that conversation about certifying bodies, I'm going to ask you this question because I'm not sure if you guys have also been reading this, but there was a recent New York Times article that came out which addressed this issue of certifying bodies when it came to organic cotton, and it was talking a lot about fraud in the system and these aspects that are happening with these TCs, for example, in organic certifications. So I was really taken aback by this news, but at the same time, I think it was bound to happen somehow, that someone was going to investigate this. So I wanted to know from your point of view, because also you were warned. But yeah, what is your take on this? I'd love to know.
So I think it's first of all important that we separate farming standards from production standards. So GOTZ is a production standard, and it actually takes effect once the cotton enters the ginning stage. Now, TCs are transaction certificates, and they are designed to record every time cotton changes hands. And the idea would be that certification bodies, such as Soil Association certification, actually check how much did you buy, how much did you sell, or how much did you produce and then sell. And in this way, by checking the ins and outs and making sure stock balances, there shouldn't be any room for fraud. Now, what happened in this scenario was actually during the farming stage, there was an extremely complex and very intelligent fraud that happened. And it was actually identified when it entered the processing stage, because suddenly there was far more organic cotton than there really should have been. I do think that there were large parts of that that were perhaps exaggerated. You know, there was a point where the article actually said, therefore, by misusing transaction certificates, you can quadruple the amount of organic cotton that you have. But realistically, that's why we have third-party checks. That's why independent, reputable certification is really important, because then you have somebody who actually goes in and checks and makes sure that everything balances and identifies these problems. And then what GOTZ have actually done since then is continue to develop the standards. You know, it's a dynamic standard, it changes, it's reviewed, and currently we're in review stage of version 7, and that will be released early next year. You know, I think it was quite a shocking thing to see. It's understandable in a way because the huge discrepancy between supply and demand in organic cotton at the moment. But it was identified and it was dealt with.
Yeah, no, I mean, the whole certification conversation is a big one. It's a big one to be had, and I definitely welcome all opinions in the question and answers about more questions about certification is good, because I think this is something, I mean, I'm in recycled cotton and I work also with these certifications and audits, and I'm always really fascinated about how it's going to evolve in the future, where it's going with and also who gets to decide what when it comes to certifying. So this, I think, should be in its own panel. I mean, we're here to talk about organic cotton, not certifying. So Prakash, I'd love to know, I mean, we had some conversations before about your work, and I'd love to know, like, the social and ethical aspects of organic cotton. How do you vouch for that? Where's your perspective on this?
I would like to answer one of your first question about water requirement.
Okay.
When you do organic, actually, real organic or regenerative,
Okay.
you search for seed which is indigenous to that land. What happened in India and many countries, they use seed which is hybrid or made or maybe GMO. They need a lot of water. They're not mean for that land. As my startup, we have a list of 175 seeds for India and around 23 in Peru. We know from which region of India this seed is good, and they actually we did experiment last 18 months. 80% of water you can save if you know which seed is required in this particular land in India or anywhere. So seed selection should be really indigenous. Some agency they allowed hybrid seed also. They should not allow. It should be indigenous seed from that. So we can really save up to 80% of water. That's the first answer. Second question was with a social thing.
Yeah.
Water is very important because most of the farmers, they use so much water in the field, and sometimes they don't have for domestic use, they don't have water. And I've seen even in the villages, they buy bottled water for drinking. Really strange because of bad practices. Also, you have to check that when talk about regenerative and organic cotton, social factor is very important. GOTZ, they have limitation because GOTZ, they start from ginning phase. They have no idea what's happening before because they have to depend on their government regulations in particular region. And here comes my startup where we are really working with farmers. We give access to our client. They can really check through satellite about this land. Their history also 5 years back, what kind of yield they did. I mean, that's the biggest scandal what everybody's facing. They have no idea this particular farm produced how many tons. It's all human entry. Actually, you made 2 tons, but you can write 20. With my system, they cannot fake that. My system is completely human interference free. So there is something we can kill greenwashing in that way. Human factor is very important because this complete movement of regenerative and organic fashion, because cotton is almost like 40 billion euro business, and less than 1% is organic. And if you know, like organic cotton, number of percent of yield or crop land use is 2.5%, but using 10% of pesticide and almost 15% of weed management chemicals. So it's actually destroying our soil, our future, our earth. And also farmers, they're not happy with that. By end of the day, when they make balance sheet, how much they use chemical, by end of the day, they're not earning a lot. And just Google how many farmers in cotton farmers in India, they're doing suicide. Organic cotton can come if we try to convince them to go organic. Then it can solve a lot of problem. their cost of regenerative farming is very less. It's not big. And yield is also, cliche is there that if you do organic or regenerative, your yield is less. It's a big lie by big seed companies. We did our own experiment. We saw our yield was actually more than conventional. So you have to convince farmers. And also on social side, we have to see, we force farmers to be organic, but we don't help them. How? In cotton, they have a disease called pink worm disease. Organic and non-organic, they all use chemical because farmers are told that this is medicine, but it's a toxic, it's full of. Farmers, they have no idea. Then we tell farmers, okay, we have some alternative thing. How 100 years back in Turkey and Egypt, people they diverted this worm to other plants. We use this technology and we did not use any chemical for pink worm. You have to tell farmers, you have to help how to be organic. You cannot force them to be organic. So here, farmer is, when he's using this kind of chemical, medicine, they are known as medicine in India. They are toxin, destroying their own health. These farmers, they never get old. They die early because of they have asthma and there are multiple things. After organic and regenerative, they have premium. And they have enough money, so and their next generation also looking, okay, father is earning good with agriculture, they're healthy, soil is healthy, they have rotation crop. So also for social thing, it's very important that we don't always force farmers to be organic, we help them how to do that. Then only this complete, we can save this earth.
Okay. I mean, also on that note, when we're talking about the ethical side of organic cotton farming, especially in India, when I'm thinking about, for example, recycled cotton in my domain, I'm always thinking about the women who are working in the recycling plants that I'm working with. And that's something that's really important, not only the women, but the men, and making sure that, labor laws are in line with how we want them to be and how they should be. How do you see that in India? Like, what's also your view on this? Do you think that there's enough infrastructure for it? How do you think it's evolving?
It's always a problem, especially when harvesting season happens. Child laborers exist. I mean, you can write in self-assessment, we don't use all this thing, but we have found, we did some intelligence, we found child laborers in cotton farms.
That's insane.
It's horrible, kids are there and they get food. We filmed also some of them, but on self-assessment, they always write, hey, if we don't do that,
But but then, we're sitting here and we're like, oh my God, that's so bad, but what next? Like, who is going to solve that problem? There's only one of you. Is it going to come from brands? Is it going to come from the government? Who is going to really fix this? Because, that's the same. It's a sad scenario, and it's a real scenario in the textile industry. But I'm always wondering, how are we going to move forward from that? What is your opinion on that?
Everyone has responsibility here. So when you say one in supermarket GOTZ certified or green button certified T-shirt for €2, you have to think, is it possible, right? If you can make. So what happens, sometimes brands, they force everyone in the supply chain, hey, I want this to be ready in $1. Then everybody's involved in that. Even the people as an end consumer, if I'm buying, I'm also responsible. Then farmer has no choice. He has no extra money to give to proper labor. He's get involving kids. So if I'm buying something which is organic or not organic cheap, if I'm going to fast fashion, if I'm buying, I'm also responsible for that. So everybody is responsible. We cannot say the farmer is bad or everyone in this line is responsible. We have to stop buying from fast fashion, number one, buy organic, and look at the fair prices. Sometimes we have to use our own understanding how it's possible to make a T-shirt for $1. Then only thing can change. Otherwise, there's no compliance system which can really detect child labor or something. It's my understanding. You can say whatever, but self-assessment will always say we don't use child labor, but they will use.
Yeah, it's definitely a dampening, thing to hear, and definitely something that I would want to now take away and think about tonight, and for everyone to also think about when they're making purchases, when they're ordering fabrics, when you're, designing your collections. Also, supply chain transparency, another, huge conversation to be had. And that really, I think we're talking a lot about sustainability today and yesterday as well at this conference, but I think the next thing that we should really be thinking about is also the people behind your supply chains and how is this going to be regulated moving forward. We're talking about certifying fabrics and certifying fibers and finishing processes, but my next topic at heart that I'm really looking at and thinking about every day is the people behind it and how are we protecting them. And like you said, there is a sad reality. So hopefully we can move away from that. And I would love to delve into that conversation. If I have 5 hours, I would sit here and we could all talk about it. But back to then organic cotton, I wanted to ask about Turkey in general. It's a huge hub for organic cotton, as well as India and Brazil and Egypt. But I wanted to ask you, how does Kipas utilize it briefly? What's your take on that? And the Turkish organic cotton market, how does it maybe differ from others?
Yeah, I mean, before giving some numbers, I would like to give some information about Kipas, as we are one of the biggest supplier out of Turkey and the largest capacity fully integrated mill out of Europe. So we have quite some numbers and we feel like responsible to the market and to the nature as well. So as Kipas, we are fully integrated and producing 145,000 tons of yarn annually and 80 million meters of fabric where we produce denim, non-denim fabrics, woven fabrics, and even the garment manufacturing we do. So with that numbers, so we consume a lot of
How much
cotton.
of it is organic, though? How
So
much of it
when
is organic cotton?
we come to the organic, so we have the experience of like 15 years producing organic cotton.
Oh.
Like up to 2015, it was like 1,000 tons annually. But last 6 years, so we increased it to 10,000 tons.
Okay.
So 10 times bigger right now. And also we diversify the range with having like a transition cotton, 2,500 tons annually, plus regenerative cotton or like recycled cotton is the key element. So 60% of our production right now, which is almost 90,000 tons annually, is a sustainable source. So our aim is like every year we are increasing it. So I'm also like proud. I have been working for the company for last 16 years.
And
I
supply
see
and
the
demand
change.
in Kipas with organic cotton, how has that been going? Is there a shortage or not really in organic?
No, we are increasing every year because also I was leading the team, and now like all of our team is like collaborating with the brands, with our partners, and we are trying to help them also with the size of usage that we have, the advantage of the pricing, and then we try to promote also organic cotton or transition cotton in their lines. So we try to convert their existing products to either transition cotton or organic cotton. So this is how we increase the amount actually.
Cool. Great. I mean, okay, running on from that, I wanted to ask, because there has been a shortage of organic cotton, no? And I wanted to know what do you think for the future? What do you think is the forecast for the supply and demand of this, Sophie?
So the organic textiles market has been quite volatile over the last few years, in large part due to the fact that there simply isn't enough organic cotton to answer the demand. At the moment, as Prakash said, less than 1% of cotton manufactured worldwide is to an organic standard. It is increasing, and things like in conversion cotton is obviously vital to that. So in conversion, it takes 3 years to change over to being organic certified, and in conversion is cotton that is produced in that interim from year 2 to year 3. And what this does is by creating it's got very similar messages to organic cotton. You know, it is moving in the direction of organic cotton. It's just not quite there yet. We've seen that there's big improvements to soil health in that period as well. So it creates an alternate fibre that helps to alleviate some of the demand because it has a similar message for the public.
So this is transition.
This is in transition,
Okay,
yeah, in conversion
okay.
or in
Can you
transition
explain
cotton.
what the difference is? Because
Yeah,
I'm a little bit lost now.
So when you stop conventional farming and you begin to farm organically, your product isn't immediately organic because there will still be residual chemicals in the soil, for example, and you have to have a period of time for that to go away until it can actually be certified as organic. So in conversion or in transition cotton is cotton that is within that gap and can actually be marketed as a product separate to organic because it isn't organic yet, but with similar messaging. You know, you're improving biodiversity, you're improving soil health, you're moving towards organic. And by this not only alleviates some of the demand on organic cotton, it can also support farmers through that gap because they're not yet able to apply the organic premium, but they can apply an in-conversion premium to it. So we've seen this demand absolutely skyrocket, and we've also seen that our licensees, for example, returned 32% higher sales last year. So, you know, the organic sector is only growing, and there's only this teeny tiny portion of cotton available. So, of course, we find many brands support farmers all the way through the process. They're able to talk about it. They're able to be transparent with the public. The general public generally are wanting people to talk to them and explain why they're making these choices and explain the process. So overall, in-conversion cotton is a really valuable and important part of improving the fibres that we use.
Okay, so that's separate from then organic.
Yeah, it's on the way.
See, this is something that brands are. Prakash, you
So
wanna?
here comes my startup. So we help. We have made this in conversion period a bit attractive. First year we name bronze period, silver and gold, and we are convincing conventional farmers to adopt regenerative and an organic process. But we don't. We help them. We have a support team from universities. Who are through live videos, or sometimes they visit also farms. We tell them, like, they have the root cause disease is the one problem, pink worm is a big problem, they have multiple issues, pest is a big problem. We tell them what you can do in this case. We help them, and they can call us anytime. Recently, they started, but then they had a pest, and the first thing what they do, they have no idea what chemical, they just spray. But it's not helping. So traditionally they have some way what they can use local herbs also working. So we help them to how you can be really be organic. For brands, we give them access through satellite, remote sensing. We use 3 different satellites where we actually know this soil needs this kind of seed, this soil needs this kind of water irrigation system. That's one of the important thing. I've seen many organic farms using diesel water pumps. Here we convince them to use solar power pumps. Then we converted already some of them. We help them how to buy, and it's not expensive if they look at the whole year of cost, and especially when diesel price is going so high. So we tell them we make life cycle assessment easy for them. We tell them in 3 years how much money you're gonna save, and in 3 years how much money you're gonna earn, and that makes them happy. So we make this in conversion period beautiful for them, and that's how we could have a lot of farmers. They are coming to join us, and Government of India already approved us as the next certification body. So we'll be certifying the crop organic nature. And brand side, like for you also, very important to know your farmer. So we have created something called FFB community, where farmers who have come to our system, can make a profile, kind of Facebook for organic farmers. Brands, they can log in, academics can log in, and supply chain, like ginning company and all. You can actually literally meet your farmer for the first time. So we connect them all
It's
together.
like a Tinder for farmers.
Kind of.
Swipe left.
Kind of. So we did, for one Italian client, we did a project. So they, for almost 60 years, they worked with this farming group, but they never knew each other. First time they saw each other. Like now they have third generation doing farming for this company, and so they were so happy. The brand, and what's very important in our system, when we talk about including humanity and all things, we really have to exclude all the middlemen in between. And that we have done. When we are connecting brands to farmers, you are actually brands, they have to pay now less, and farmers, they're getting higher price now. Win-win situation.
Yeah, I think the industry is really moving towards that, you know, trying to do more direct, holistic, familial, build relationships with your supply chain, you know, really be present. I think digitalization is super important, innovation, especially to bring everyone to the same level in terms of the industry in organic cotton, but also recycled cotton, any kind of fiber in general. So no, this is really interesting, and I think we have 14 minutes left. So I don't know if you guys have any last points, because you know I still have a lot that I want to ask and I want to talk about, but I'm keeping in mind that we have to have some questions and answers. But some last points on how you think, you know, brands and consumers alike, and even industry people can take away from organic cotton. What do you think we should take away from this conversation today? Yeah?
I think to increase the organic cotton production and also the other sustainable materials, we need to work more closely with the brands and collaborate with them and showing them more the transparency. For example, what we do as a company, with some of our partner brands, we take them directly to the farm and do the collaboration. Starting from there, so take them like into the decisions and then involve them the whole process. So collaborations with the farms and like the brands and the production team. So then everybody will be in the same loop, and then in that way, I guess we can increase the production and
do some surprise visits.
Yeah.
That's the key. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
How about you, Prakash? What do you think?
I think what all we're talking about, organic or sustainable fashion, you must have seen like 10 years back, especially in Germany where I live, asking someone, hey, I'm vegan, do you have any vegan food? They used to laugh. Now every supermarket, they have a special one area for vegan and vegetarian food, because they start, like me, there were many people asking supermarket. I think here end consumer, they have a power to change. When we buy anything, we have to ask brands, who made my t-shirt? We also have to ask, who was my farmer? Pay more, but buy an organic thing.
Yeah, where's my farm? What does it look
ask
like?
about credibility.
What else is on there? Yeah.
And make pressure on the brands. Then only we can. We're talking about, cotton. In 10 years only. I'm in this sector like 12 years, and we have not reached 1% of cotton. Actually, it's a shame. In other sector, it should have been 10%. So that's why we, as end consumer, we have responsibility only to buy organic, only to buy fair. We have to make brands. We have to force brands to be sustainable. Then only we can reach our goal of.
Should come also from internally.
Yes.
I find myself always having this conversation too. It's a very fun one to push people from the inside as well to get on board with these things. But how about you, Sophie? Any last words?
I think that organic cotton is really important, but I also think that in conversion cotton is equally as important. There's around 55,000 hectares of land in conversion at the moment, so it provides an alternative an alternative fibre to organic. It can support the farmers all the way through, and I completely agree with what's been said here. Transparency is absolutely vital. Calling out brands who perhaps don't have the best sustainable model, and asking them to do better. I think that's really, really vital, because the consumer has a lot of power, and therefore we should utilise it wherever we can.
Yeah.
And also, we shouldn't forget this kind of organizations also, like, we should thank to sustainable angle, like they raise the awareness,
Yeah.
and also we can reach like to everyone,
Yeah.
and like explain what we do, even like from small brands to like the bigger brands. I think we need to work close with all of them and explain. Whoever doesn't have an idea, we need to teach them, and then at the end,
Yeah, it's
it
all
comes
about
back.
education.
Yeah, all
I mean,
of us
in this
need-
day and age, for sure. I mean, I'm next generation. I mean, I'm only 26, and I've been working in this industry for 2.5 years, and I find myself already sharing a lot of knowledge with people my age, with students, but also people in an older generation, and they're learning new things, and so it's all about teaching each other.
Yeah,
The good and the bad. Yeah.
Universities is also
Yeah.
like important.
Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully we can all share more knowledge in the future. Definitely enjoyed this conversation and learned a lot. I have a lot of knowledge. So yeah, now on organic cotton can take away some great things. So let's go into question and answers. I don't know if anyone has anything that, oh, hello. Oh, hi. I know you.
Thanks, Christopher Stokes from the Global Organic Textile Stand, and thanks for a really good session highlighting some of the key issues. I just wanted to raise one point about genetically modified seed, which for cotton is almost ubiquitous, and that actually makes it really hard for farmers taking on organic production to source the seed. So we need to really mount a campaign against genetic modification, and bear in mind that for textiles, there is little opposition to it. That's why it has such wide uptake. Whereas in food, we are at a European level and even globally resisting genetic modification. In the UK specifically, we have a government that's very keen on promoting the idea of genetic engineering and genetic modification. So maybe it will present a problem in the future. But for textiles, for cotton, it's a real problem. Thanks. And bear in mind that initiatives such as the so-called Better Cotton Initiative allows the use of GM, and also that's locked in with the use of pesticides.
Prakash, you look very triggered by this.
That should be, GM, anything where genetic modified should be banned immediately. All the issue what we are facing, you can see water level going really down everywhere, chemical, you're supporting complete ecosystem of toxins everywhere when you start GM. You need a lot of urea, you need a lot of phosphate, pesticide, weed management, you need a lot of chemical for that. It should be banned completely, for my understanding. As a startup, that's why we are helping farmers. We have data of 175 within India seeds, not genetic, not even hybrid. We say desi seed, like indigenous. So we help them, farmers, finding, actually it's cheaper than all the nicely branded. And some of the GMO cotton, because the big company is banned in India, so they come up with typical Hindi name. So they make a different company, but the product is same. So seed was before purple, now it's pink, So they know how to come in with a different branding. So we really have to discourage by government regulation or something that we have to ban anything with GM or hybrid. We have to go for indigenous cotton, which is meant for that soil, that particular soil.
He looks very content about this answer, so I'm glad. All right, any other answer or questions that anyone wants to add? No? No one? No? No? Do you guys want to add anything? Maybe I'm going to start asking more questions, but if nobody wants to
5
ask
minutes we
any
have.
more. Okay, yeah. So I will just ask another question running on from what he mentioned. I did hear a lot about BCI. So I would love to know the difference between BCI and GOTZ exactly, because, you know, there was a lot of talk around BCI and also a little bit of controversy. I'm bringing up all the controversies, but can I ask about this?
She's right.
Yeah?
Sure, nobody else wants to
Sophie?
take it? Of course, go for it. We
Yeah?
have the man himself in the
Yeah?
house, so.
Yeah, okay, great. I
No,
like
it's not,
some.
not that. And I think BCI is firstly a self-administered system by farmers themselves. It's better in regards to it does aim for a reduction in pesticides, but it doesn't give any guarantees. It's not better in that it does permit the use of genetic modification. So I think we need to look a little bit suspiciously at what BCI stands for, how it's administered and what it actually delivers. It's certainly not regenerative.
Yeah. Sure.
Thank you so much. My name's Arizona Muse. I'm an activist and a model, and I have a charity called Dirt that supports the biodynamic farming movement. Something I'm also seeing with BCI is that on the consumer-facing end of BCI, we have a massive problem, which is that brands are adopting policies where they say, we are going to reach 100% BCI cotton by X year. And they settle for that. Which means they're never going to source organic, regenerative cotton.
Yeah.
That's a huge problem that needs to be addressed. And this, I think, is an unintended consequence of BCI. I don't think BCI set out trying to have this effect on the consumer-facing brand, but this is what's happened. So
Yeah.
let's address that together as an industry and not let that happen.
At the end, the brands or the buyers, they're also like forcing to sell the product, and at the end it comes to the price, and they compete each other, the big ones, and so like when the organic prices kind of like jump up, they try to promote, like get a tool in hand and promote that one more because they have a price advantage. This is why, for example, transition cotton is very important to regulate the prices. So, like as a player in the market, also regenerative cotton, kind of like diversifying the products can reduce the usage of like BCI cotton, or like changing into. This is why like we need to support transition in cotton or like regenerative cotton kind of products next to organic cotton. This is all about pricing and marketing. So like we need. This is why we need to work all together, like with the buyers and brands and like suppliers, and give them an option to use like more sustainable version of the product. Otherwise, you are right. Like they take the tool in hand, like BCI, and then go for it. So.
Well, I always believe, you know, that we should be just moving towards a more holistic approach, so less of these unrealistic numbers, like you said. And of course, we have to hit targets by a certain time and a year, and I think that's super important to have those targets. But it should just really be ingrained in a brand's DNA, not just to shout it out for the consumer, but really something that they want to move towards. And also, like you said, diversify the different fibers and fabrics that they're using, not just, BCI cotton and aiming for that one, because sometimes there's also the case where they're working specifically with BCI because they have some kind of partnership or financial, leverage on that. So I think it should be more, we should just be more sustainable as, brands and consumers and suppliers, and it shouldn't be something forced. It shouldn't be for marketing. I'm sure everyone's talking about greenwashing. I really just believe it should be something that you start to do as second nature. I think it's not, yeah, it'll be something hopefully in the industry. That's what I wish to see as my generation. That's something that we don't even have to talk about anymore. It's just something that we're doing and acting upon every day naturally. All right, so
I just have a last wish to say, if we have anyone from regulation or government, sustainability in fashion, or what is organic or what is conventional, should be included in school, primary school, so that kids should learn from the school time.
exactly. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining today. Hope you had a good time. And yeah, thank you so much to our panelists.
Thank you.
Pleasure.